might have heard that Ford recently cut their dividend. They have temporarily suspended it. And if you've been watching their stock at all recently, over the last few months, it's gone from like 9 down to, I don't know, 5.5. And now they've had their credit rating reduced. They are now a triple B, which is, I think, speculative grade, which is just one step above junk. So it's not looking good for them. They've been having financial troubles even before this incident. And now this has probably actually given them the excuse they needed to cut their dividend. They've had some restructuring that they've been going through. And I'm sure you guys have all recently, it was last year, they quit all car production except Mustangs. So they were doing Mustangs and trucks. So trying to go for their high margin, profitable vehicles in an attempt to save themselves. And that didn't work. Things continued to get worse. And now we have the incident that's caused shutdowns. I would not be surprised if there's something that comes out of our stimulus package that includes bailout for auto manufacturers, of which Ford would be one of the potential beneficiaries of that. So that's what's going on. I'm worried about them surviving. They might have some bailout or bankruptcy in their future. Who knows? But these credit ratings, it's a big deal when they get cut, and so it'll be an exciting story to see how things go from here out.
Yeah, I want to share my screen here real quick to follow up on what you're saying. This is 10 years of Ford stock. And so you can see basically the high in 2011 was under 20, maybe 19, a drop back up to 18, and then a steady drop from 2014 all the way down. And then just in 2020, it went from about 9 to 4.
Damn.
Right. And as it started dropping below 9, their dividend was really great. It looked very like, wow, if they can maintain this dividend, that's a great stock. They're paying higher dividends than anybody else that are on the market. And, well, now we know that was not sustainable, and they have suspended it. And
yeah. Yeah, and we talked about this, I think, last month, in that Ford's only real profitable part of the company is not the car, but actually the Ford automobile credit arm. People buy a car, they take out Ford credit, and that's the part of the company that's keeping them afloat. But we're starting to see 90-day delinquencies going up and inching up and inching up and inching up slowly and slowly. And it's only going to get worse in 2020.
Right. Yeah. Vehicle manufacturers have this really weird thing where it's not really the cars that make the dealerships money. They make money mostly on service. And it's not the cars that make the manufacturers money. That's mostly financing. So it's really weird that the car business is not about cars.
It was the same thing when I had someone that had to explain to me that McDonald's isn't about restaurants. It's about real estate.
Right. Yep. If you've seen the movie Founders, that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something terrible.
Uh-oh.
Please do.
Pretty much playing devil's advocate here. What if it's time for Ford to shuffle off this business coil and be replaced by something else? What if it's really time for big car manufacturing and the foundational names that have been around for like 150 years to just be like, yeah, you're not making cars for the market. You're not doing what needs to be done. You're not innovative. You're not affordable. Your entire catalog of creations don't fit the needs of the modern society and where it needs to go if it wants to stay alive. What if it's just plain old time to be like, come on, old paint, it's time to go?
Yeah, I don't think that's devil's advocate at all.
You just described Fiat Chrysler.
And I said the same thing when GM got bailed out. Look at how many startups there are right now. And if some of these old timers die, that would open up the market for the new startups to actually have a chance to succeed. That would give them customers, that would give them workers. They'd be able to be structured in a completely new and different way. They wouldn't have pensions that are weighing them down. They would do 401ks instead, and they would be a completely different model.
Have any of these startups decided that they were going to go with dealers? I haven't found too many of them. That, like, even Rivian the other day made the news because they're not going with dealers. And there was a smaller one that said the same thing, no dealers.
Yeah, that's tremendously destabilizing. I mean, everything we're talking about is probably valid, true, and right.
Yeah.
I can't ignore the fact that it's tremendously industry destabilizing to let it happen.
Yeah.
But
well, it might be industry destabilizing to let it happen to multiple groups at the same time. But maybe one that would be something that would be not near as destabilizing as multiple.
Right. We don't have a free market. We have a market that has government bailouts and protection and lobbying and other things. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
So a controlled crash, basically.
Yeah.
Where we're not letting the whole thing collapse, but we are slowly letting one of the pillars go away and seeing what happens to kind of take its place.
Yeah.
Because all those supplement businesses that supply Ford, that supply Chrysler, GM, they can all adjust to one player of Ford disappearing, but not, all four.
Yeah. All four.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the reason we bailed them out last time, is because
exactly.
Because it was a global collapse.
Yeah. While I love and would enjoy George's scenario immensely, I would temper it with this bit of history. There was a time when the best watches on the planet were made in the United States. Everybody. And there were watches being made in Europe at that time, and they were fantastic. But if you wanted something that was the best, you bought a watch made in the U.S. And when the Swiss got aggressive, when the market changed a little bit, that business went away. And it's gone. All of the supporting businesses are gone. Now, again, Georgia was talking about one company, and specifically she said that. So this isn't a refutation to her. It's just sort of a counterpoint. We have to be careful about what industry that goes bye-bye, because a lot of times they don't come back. It's impossible for them to come back. Other people step up and fill that vacuum, and the market's gone, sometimes very quickly. The few American names in watchmaking that are still around are all owned by foreign companies, and most of the products, all the products, made overseas. So
I'm going to use solar as an example. Actually, our failure to invest in solar, the technology, going back to the 70s and 80s, we lost out. The market for the product is still there at the final end stage of it. So when we talk about installing it on houses and on businesses, we are using solar products. Yes, we have a pretty robust market, but where we fail is that we did not continue to develop solar technology and manufacturing. And manufacturing is a pretty critical part of our own security apparatus as a nation. And by constantly outsourcing it to other countries, and because shipping was easier and we don't want to pay American workers a fair shake, and we don't want to give them pensions, and we don't want to pay for health care, we allowed a lot of it to disappear overseas. So in essence, now that we need the end product for solar, we have to deal now with heavy shipping costs. We have to deal with the fact that we don't have the industry anymore to manufacture it. And going back to our national health crisis right now, we used to be able to mobilize a lot of manufacturers to shift production and make things that were important for a global crisis like this, but our very large nation with a vast amount of territory needed to be able to have things made locally and send it to key hotspots instead of having one spot make it and then ship it all over the place. And we kind of missed the boat because short-term profit has always taken place of long-term thinking. So I get your point, Russell, and I agree on that. Still kind of think maybe this should die, but hey.
I think you make a very excellent point.
This short-term thinking really ramped up during my lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think you and I are pretty much on that peer group level. We watched a lot of that be like turn into the greed is good philosophy, kind of screwed America to the wall.
Yeah.
20, 30 years later.
Yeah, living quarter to quarter doesn't really get you to the end goal over many years. All it does is allow a CEO to leave with a golden parachute, and the next one come in and try to build another parachute.
Yeah, while leaving the workers to flap in the wind.
Right.
Yep.
And keep in mind, so again, just because I'm super familiar with it, that whole watch business thing that we were so good at, in the Second World War, those companies made timers for weapons, timers for ship navigation. They made all kinds of highly skilled micro machining products that helped us through that war. And then they went back, some of them, after that war and made watches for a little while before they were taken over. The point is, once that was gone, once all that talent was gone, all those skills, all those machines, all that knowledge, we can't do that. There's a few little companies trying to do it now, and they have to they're reinventing the whole industry, and it's very, very difficult. So, what, it would be cool if somebody left the room and created a space for a smaller, more sustainable company to come into place, especially somebody like Ford or Fiat Chrysler, who's been very slow and very resistant, just really playing the Halo game at best. But
for decades.
Yeah, for decades. But it's a dangerous path to walk.
Yeah, and I like your analogy of solar versus buggy whips, because we don't do the buggy whips anymore, but we do, like you said, tons of solar.
There's a place for buggy whips, but I don't think we can discuss it on this show.
Oh, but we can.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're the new one.
Yeah. let me get you. I'll send you a list of the show numbers where we've discussed just that subject. How's that? Yeah. It was maybe back in the audio only days, but
yeah.